Hi guys, my name is Hailey Mewborn and this is my observation paper presentation. So I was at the Willie Price Lab School in the monkey room, which was 4-year-olds. It was pretty much split with boys and girls, and we had two kids with IEPs and then one girl who was repeating. She was held back in preschool before going on to kindergarten, so she was the oldest kid in the class. So in the class, we had our carpet area where we did all of our class meetings, all of our morning activities, all that stuff. And then there are different play areas like the kitchen, the toy bins that had like magnets and stuff like that. And then a Lego table where they could just build and have a bin of Legos just to build on top of the table. And then on the playground, we had different climbing areas, slides, talking tubes, so kids could talk to each other from opposite sides of the playground, monkey bars. The tire swing was a big hit. I spent many hours pushing kids on that tire swing. And then we had a sandbox in a gated area. Here are my records. So I first went on February 27th, and here I learned about kids' creativity a lot because the kids, they were introducing themselves to me and they were wanting to, show me what they were making, specifically at the Lego table. And one girl, she was making the most random names for anything she made. One was like Chucky Wooly Pooey Wooey, something like that. Like she would say the most random things and then she would crawl on the floor laughing. And they were just getting so creative. And then we also had compliment Mondays, which we would all sit in a circle with our legs out in front of us. And then when you got a compliment, you would cross your legs. And we continued around the circle until everyone had compliments. And the teachers wanted to make sure that they weren't, shallow compliments, that, we were complimenting someone's personality and not just, I like your shirt. And she wanted to make sure the kids were noticing good things in other kids. And that also helped start the week off right because Mondays can be very rough in classrooms, getting the kids to focus, seeing their friends again, also just getting back into the routine of school after a nice long weekend. And then next, I learned how kids like to copy each other. Both of my observations today had to do with the sandbox. And because a couple kids decided they wanted to go into the sandbox area, and then about 75% of the playground was gone. We had a few kids playing on the swings and stuff, but every kid wanted to be in that sandbox. But they had to earn the sandbox, so they had to stop at a teacher, answer questions about safety, can you throw the sand, can you eat the sand, what toys can be played with in the sand, and they wanted to make sure each kid knew the rules before going in. So they had to earn and know the rules. Next, I learned about their motor skills and how the teachers focus on developing those. So my teacher was explaining to me how when we do our weekly song and poem that she puts up on a little board in the carpet area, when she recreates motions for it, and she always wants to make sure that the motions are helping with motor development. So for example, we had one about throwing snowballs. So she would make sure the snowballs were being thrown across the body because that really is a part of motor development, crossing the body, not just keeping the arms on the same side. Next was about IEPs. So the one girl, she fidgets a lot. She has a lot hard time focusing when she's sitting at the carpet area doing class. So she would sit crisscross and we'd put a little pillow pet on her lap and she'd try to take care of it. She called it her puppy. We'd get her a fidget toy. And to my surprise, a lot of the kids were very respectful of it and just kind of knew, oh, that's her thing. We don't get that. That's fine. And then the boy, his IEPs mainly had to deal with, he was, first one in line going out. When we were on the carpet area, we drew popsicle sticks to leave. He was the first one to leave, etc., etc. Next, I saw classroom jobs. So the one that stood out to me the most was the greeter. She held up a little poster and it had different ways you could greet her. So there was dabbing, handshake, hug, high five, thumbs up, all those fun things. And it just gave the kids a choice on how they wanted to kind of say hello. And I thought that was very cool. Next, I liked Haggerty Heroes. And that's basically 3 kids were chosen, random or not random, depending on if some kids were having bad behavior. And if the kids, not knowing who they were, behaved themselves while at the carpet, they would get a prize. And if they didn't, they would not get a prize. So we did have a time where only 2 of the 3 kids got a prize. She never named who that third kid was to the class, but the kids kind of had to self-reflect on how they acted. And then I also liked the classroom tracking system. They had a little face card that they'd place on the area they were at so the kids could know where the stations were, the teachers could know who was at which station, and also how many kids were there. Next was just the love for teachers. We had a birthday for one of the teachers in the class, and the kids just asked for my help making her presents and all that stuff, and I thought it was the sweetest thing. And then I also observed how they want the hands to move slower than the brain. So on the playground, some of the boys would get a bit rough, push, do all that stuff when they're running into each other. And the teachers would basically remind them, saying, having your brain move faster than your hands is what you need to do. If your hands move faster than your brain, that's when things get dangerous and unsafe. And it was really cool. And we did have to have some kids sit down off to the side because they couldn't do that. And most of the time, though, the kids would just take that direction, slow down, be calmer, and enjoy their play. So next are my connections. So my first connection has to do with the motor skills. Like I said in the poem, when we were throwing the arms across the body, I found on page 287, it really just explained how these motor skills are really important in 3 to 4-year-olds, which I thought was perfect for my class because it was 4-year-olds. Next was IEPs. I thought IEPs really didn't start until grade school, but turns out they start pretty young and are in preschool. I knew these younger kids had disabilities, but I guess I didn't realize that they could get accommodations for it that early, but I'm very glad that they do. Next was about self-management, and this is back to the hands moving slower than the brain. And I found that resisting impulses and choose appropriate behavior with a low adult direction. Most of the kids were able to just move on and play like normal. And that's all they need sometimes. They know what they're supposed to do. Sometimes they just need a little reminder. And then connection 4 about safety. The teachers, it would rain sometimes, and the teachers would always go out first with a towel and wipe down all the equipment, and then they'd check in the sandboxes to see if there were any bugs, and if there was corner where a bunch of flowers have flown in, making sure there's no bugs or anything, just overall making sure the area is safe for the kids. And so I found that in the book when it said to check playground equipment for safety, because that was something very important for the teachers that I observed and realized you can't just let kids run out and do their thing. You have to create a safe environment. Thank you all for watching.